Hello and welcome to part 24 of our OpenTTD series, and in this part what we're going to be doing is I'm going to take up the request by a lot of people to actually put in an electrified railway, because I think now is the time. We have, just to break down what we have so far, so we've got quite a few branch lines and things, but predominantly we have a few main districts, and what I mean by a district is a centralized area of people. So as you build passenger services, very similar as to real life, you have certain districts where people tend to travel to as an area or from, and we have Prunningpool Falls as one. So I mean, yeah, we have cities like Donston, and we have quite big towns and cities around that, like these here. But predominantly, this is the main part of the city. So it's the district of Prunningpool Falls. No matter what happens with these towns and things, they generally go to this city to, head out of the region. So this is one area that we have. We have this district here, which is basically the entire peninsula. This is up to Nuddington. That's one district. We have the district around here in Warnpool. So it's a pretty big district. And then we have this district here, the Drinley to Suntwood area. That in itself is I think one of the biggest actually. So if you look at the town's population, Suntwood is number one with a bullet. Prunningpool Falls is second. Drinley's obviously to that. So I mean, if you look at Suntwood and Drinley, between them, 23,000. Then he counts in there's a 1,000, 1.5. Probably about 30,000 people there. So that's a pretty big area in itself. Those four areas are our key districts. And what we need to do is, as we are actually expanding across the map, we need to make sure that we're servicing these areas properly. And other districts are likely to come up from that, which is why obviously we've started creating to areas such as Planville. Because obviously as these areas get express services in, they build up quite quickly. We want to get goods to them. Obviously that increases their growth, and we tend to find that we have these kind of centralized areas. So we're going to build from one of these districts today. We're going to build from Prunningpool Falls. We're going to start an electric railway, and the electric railway we're going to build is going to go up from Prunningpool Falls, pretty much follow this line up to Warnpool and then to Drinley. Now I'm not necessarily saying that I want to build a new line. Now, I initially thought, well, we'll just convert this railway. But as I was thinking what to do, it's kind of a good idea that we actually build a railway up to Planville from Prunningpool Falls, because the passenger output is pretty much all through this single, well, not single, but this double track here. And we should start giving, obviously, this district a few more options for our passengers. So, for instance, this district, yes, I know we only have the one line, but there's quite a few options for, later down when we need to very specifically schedule our passenger services. We've got an express line, we've got a local service, we've got, areas here for non-stop services to pass. We've got a lot of resources where we don't have that in Prunningpool Falls. So, we're going to build the opposite direction out of the town. And we're going to build a branch, well, kind of a branch line up here towards Planville. And then what I was thinking is that we create the electric railway from this. So we maybe have, obviously, a line that goes down here and is sort of a, it's a different way to get to Warnpool. It's an electric route. And there's quite a few, actually, larger towns here that we could incorporate into a branch line with it. So that's our general idea. I'm just going to get straight to building, to be honest. And in Prunningpool Falls, we could probably do with another set of platforms to accommodate the new trains that we're going to build, which will be Pendolinos. Just saying that right now, because Pendolinos are a good shout for this map. They hold a lot of passengers. They are under 5 tiles long. I believe they're 4.5 tiles. So they'll fit into our stations. So I move that dock. I'm making space here for an extra 2 bay platforms, which should suffice for now. So what we'll do is the 2 will go there, and then we'll have a road come down this section, and then we're going to have the bridge that goes back over the new platforms as well. When we're building electric railways, we need to be thinking about capacity, making sure that we're building the right amount of traffic that we'll get on the line, So it's definitely going to be a case of us taking into account siding platforms for local services and all that kind of thing. Let's just put the main platforms down. I was waiting for that train to move, but the moment I decided to do something else, it did. And then let's just... In fact, let's rebuild somewhat. Let's change the design of this station to make it look a little busier. Let's put a waiting area in. And then we'll put a second exit at the end of the platform, which quite a lot of large stations have, especially ones with connecting, which are act as connecting hubs. And then we'll connect these back to the main line, like so. Though this section will not be electric. It will be from the edge of the platform onwards. So what we're going to have to do here is work out how we're going to get out of this this conurbation. There's a space here. I want to try and make most of this line 3-track, so we'll have basically every section will have some kind of passing loop in. I'll show you the design as I'm building it, but we need to get through to here. So if I demolish these, that could maybe be a tunnel entrance, which would mean that the tunnel's going to have to be around this kind of area. Just thinking whether it's worth going through Donston or not. How busy is Donston Station? Very. Just trying to think whether we should build another station in Donston and go out this way, perhaps. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll make a second station in Donston, which will have to be up here somewhere, won't it? So what we'll do is we'll remove this road and we'll try and make a 4-track station here. I know there's not much room, but we will make some. We will make room for Puny Station. 2, 3, 4. And then, okay. So that's the platform. So this is going to be where the bridge is over the platform edges. So let's just get that in first, because I am very cautious that buses do use the route. There's one approaching. Building must be demolished. Oh, of course, something started building straight away. Let's use a nice tide arc bridge. Whoa, sorry for the disco effects there. Let's get rid of this road. And see if we can save any of these houses, but it doesn't look good, to be honest. Let's just bring these platforms out. I was just about to say, why do we have these signals here? But that is to avoid freight getting stuck. Let's have a look. So we can actually build on that bit there. So how many exits do we have? 5 lines, okay. That should do. Because what we need to do is work out how we can segregate this branch line as well. So, what I may do actually is just get it through and demolish this bit. So I always feel bad when I do this, because I go into a town all guns blazing, like, yeehaw, I'm going to pull down all these buildings, fucking. Then I, you know, be like, yep, boot, get out. So if you imagine, if you're part of this open TT world, so the transport company comes into town and is like, hey guys, right, we're going to build you a new railway, we're going to redesign your station, we're going to give you really fast trains, it's going to be comfortable, you know, you're going to be happy, just, you know, chill your beans and everything's okay. So you're thinking, oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm going to be able to get to work in time. I don't have to queue behind 5,000 people to get on a train. And then they come through like, right, this entire area for the next, you know, 3 miles, out. What do you mean? Well, out. Go. Demolished. Be pretty gutted. Okay. See, this is the problem. I try to space my videos out because I do too much rambling. And speaking of things to ramble about, I should probably go in with the question of the day, which is, how should the UK deal with overcrowding on public transport? So the UK is quite overcrowded, and how do we deal with this? And I'd be interested to see how other people think obviously about this question as well. Generally, I think more public transport. Well, it's the obvious answer, isn't it? But obviously I know it's more specific. Overcrowding is a difficult one, really. I think it's something you can't really avoid, but you can make better, but I don't ever think you'll avoid it, because the problem is, so if you build better transport links, so let's say you've got a bus route and then you build a metro link instead, which is actually similar to here. So right, okay, where I live in Manchester, we have a big overcrowding problem, and the council strategy here is, okay, you live in an area where we can't build tram lines because there is just no room. There's no room at all, and that's fair enough. There isn't any room. So they're like, right, we can't do that. You've got a station, and the trains do have pretty much chronic overcrowding. I actually emailed my MP about the overcrowding because it was ridiculous. It's a case of, I used to commute to work using the train. Now I get a bus to Manchester Piccadilly, which is kind of the nearest sort of major terminus like this, and I get a little bit of a quieter train from there. But if I was to get the most convenient train from me, I'd literally have to fight for a place on that train. It's like on the platform, because it's the last stop before the terminus. Well, there's a few reasons why it's overcrowded. Let me just go through them. It's the last stop on the line before the terminus. That's number one. Number two is it's only 2 carriages long, is this train. And number 3 is it's the only train in rush hour, and before, like, 9:30, I think it is, which actually goes to a pretty major city. So if you imagine in this OpenTTD map, I'm going to give you, a comparison. So how it generally works is, where I live is a bit of a conurbation. So let's imagine you've got Drinley here. I want to try and find a town that's of comparable size. Yeah, Tendinghatton. So let's imagine that, I live here in Druidwood, and there's one train before rush hour, if rush hour was a thing in game, that everybody would basically want to get because it's the only train which goes through to here, and it's 2 carriages. It's ridiculous. And what the answer was, so I said, well, look, there needs to be more capacity in this kind of area because it's ridiculous. People physically can't get to work. They said, right, well, the line's too busy. They said, look, there are too many express services at that time in the morning, which is, yeah, understandable. And I understand that local services don't get priority over express. They said, but there's just no capacity. They said, and we can't put any extra carriages on because, carriages don't work like that. Well, they don't in the UK. That is also true. It's like, we can't just add another carriage on because they're multiple units. They could technically add another unit onto it, which is what they do on the services after it. It's just genuinely a case of they do not have enough trains to go around. But there are other services which are comparably dead and do not need extra trains on them. It's ridiculous. So it's a case of, our trains are overcrowded, going back to the point. So our council goes, right, we are subsidising the local bus route. So the Manchester to Stockport Road has a subsidised bus route where Manchester City Council basically goes, right, we'll pay for the buses, we'll pay for all the buses, and you're going to have a ton of buses on there. But these buses need to run once every, it's the minimum is 18 per hour, but it generally is about 1 bus every 90 seconds, which is staggering. I can go to a bus stop outside my house and know that, I can just basically trot up there whenever I want, and a bus will just turn up in under 2 minutes. And it's quite impressive, really. But, well, I'm just coming back to this, just to think what I'm going to be doing here. 1 second. So, 4 there, and then a 3 platform here for this small village. So yeah, I know that I can just pretty much wait for a bus and one will come up, obviously, straight away. But the problem with that is it encourages more use on those buses. So with even if you invest in public transport, that investment is going to mean in itself that more people are going to want to use the service. So you kind of defeat the object of attempting to avoid overcrowding anyway. There is no real way I think that we can beat overcrowding, but overcrowding in itself is something that we should notice, we should at least attempt to tackle, and we should kind of take as a mark of, well, you know, we're doing well, because we want our public service, public transport to be overcrowded in some respects. We want them to be used. It'd be pointless building Crossrail at the cost of whatever it is, which is quite a few billion, if, you know, it's going to be used by 6 people on a commute at 6 p.m. at night. We want the services to be crowded. It shows that, you know, we've got a thriving country where people want to go places. So, you know, there's two sides to it. And I know that obviously the question from that is, well, you know, how can we invest in overcrowding? How can we make sure that we're constantly, you know, trying to fight it almost? And, well, it's a bit of everything, isn't it? Every single area of public transport in this country, and I imagine a lot of other countries, if not everyone, are underfunded. So, from the buses, so there are rural towns which, for instance, my parents live in a rural town, well, a village, sorry, in Yorkshire, and there's one bus every 2 hours. It's like, that's not any way to have a service. It's not a service you can kind of rely on and go, oh, well, I spontaneously want to go out and get some milk. Let me go wait an hour and a half for the bus. It's pointless. And it's, I think councils fall into a trap. And a lot of other companies do, like train companies and such, are thinking, oh, well, you know, nobody uses that bus service. Well, there's no point of investing anything more in it. Maybe we should cut more buses. It's like, no, people don't use the bus services because they're so infrequent. They're so infrequent. How is anyone supposed to plan around an hour and a half wait? It's not spontaneous. It's literally quicker to wait for your parents to come home and to say, look, give me a lift into town. Bearing in mind this journey is about 15-20 minutes, probably about half an hour if you take into account bus times of picking people up and such. But I think that's the one major trap anyway that councils tend to fall into. It's the same with everything. Trains. There should be more branch lines in this country. Definitely, there needs to be more branch lines. I know a lot of them closed in the Beeching Acts, which in the UK is when, in the 1960s, when the government said, look, the railways are costing us too much money, we need to cut a lot of the services. There was well, they didn't actually say that. What actually happened was they hired a bloke who worked in the steel industry to basically say, we need to cut corners, we need to save money because we're being hemorrhaged by British Rail. He basically said, right, cut everything, just cut as much as you can. So what we did was got rid of a ton of branch lines, and he estimated this would save us so much money, and I think the estimate was we'd save about 120 million or something like that. And in the end, it only ended up saving us 30 million because he cut all the branch lines, a lot of which, oh, in this I don't need this to be 2-track. No, I do. I was going to say I don't need this section to be 4-track, but I do, because I'm going to actually build this as a branch line with services on it as well. Because look how many towns there are here. Anyway, so we thought by cutting all these branch lines that nobody used, it'd, save money and he could just focus on the intercity routes. But it doesn't work like that, because those routes, those branch lines that he closed, were helping passengers feed into the intercity services, which made them money. I just think that what needs to happen is people need to kind of step away from public transport, this habit of trying to, say, well, that doesn't work, people don't want that, let's close it. What should be happening is councils should be trying to encourage people to use the public transport instead of actually trying to cut it. So there's a, for instance, let's say there's a service near me. This is a real world example, which is on a parliamentary service. The there's one train a week which goes one way on the line just to keep it open. But it passes through some pretty built up areas. What should be happening is the councils should be going, right, we have this railway here. It goes from one major area, which is Stockport, to another major area, which is Staley Bridge, and actually gives you connections onto the Transpennine Express. What could happen is if that line had sufficient services, passengers could avoid Manchester Piccadilly and connect to services going to Leeds through that. You could save congestion at one of the busiest stations in the country. You could actually have a connection service to the towns around the area, because there's 2 stations on the route. You could actually physically use the line, but no, it's a case of they go, right, well, when we had a train an hour on there, nobody used it, so now we're gonna cut back, and you see, nobody uses it when we have just like one service a week, so what's the point of putting 2 on? It's like, no, nobody uses it because the people who set up that railway do not know they don't know the purpose of that railway. They don't know what it's supposed to do. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to look at how we can actually put public transport to good use. So, thinking of ways to save railways and thinking, okay, this railway isn't, what's wrong with this railway? Why aren't people using this railway? Oh, it's because the services are so infrequent. Oh, it's because it doesn't service any major areas. Okay, well, maybe we should, rebuild this, and maybe we should create new stations and such. And I don't know, but I think that's the main thing I've seen. Just that it's very much a case of if something doesn't make me money, close it. There's no kind of thought of preservation of, no, maybe there's something here, maybe I should work with it. Society of lazy fat cats, that's what it is. Got very political, I guess, but and I feel kind of bad because I've obviously rambled quite a lot. And I've kind of been building an autopilot, really. So what I'm actually doing is creating a 4-track system. And yeah, I know that I've got 4 platforms here. And someone did advise this in the comments. And it is something that I use in other maps as well. But I'm going to make the local stations all have 4 platforms. That way, it doesn't really matter. Well, if we have just 2 platforms either side and have these 2 as non-stop, it means that every time there's 2 non-stopping services going past, they're going to queue for that one, that one non-stop line. If I have them both as platforms, they can use whatever. It doesn't matter. They'll just go through and carry on, and it actually makes the lines quicker. So that's why there are 2 platforms. Right. How on earth are we going to get through this? I think we can have a station here, if nothing else. So if we kind of make the track rise here. It's also, in real life, it is extremely sunny for the United Kingdom. So it's been difficult to find the time to actually create new videos. I feel very guilty that I'm up here. And what time is it now? Let me check my phone. It's literally 25 to 4. And it is roasting outside, and I feel bad because I'm here on my computer playing OpenTTD, which is a virtual world in which the sun shines all the time. I'm not absorbing any of it myself. The things that I do for this channel. Right. So, I am also thinking about my next OpenTTD series, because at the moment I do, well, I don't know if any people know what my actual uploading cycle is, but I'm now doing Civilization 5 on a Monday, which will probably end soon anyway, because I'm pretty much at the end of the game, and it's not as interesting as I thought it would be. I've played Civilization 5 games before, which have had quite a lot of strategy to them, but with the game I'm in, I've sort of luckily found a world where it's very easy to conquer, and I've been like, oh, okay. We had sort of a bit of fun at the start as we got built next to Rome, but after that it was like, right, well, I've kind of accomplished everything this map has to offer. So that's been a bit difficult. So I don't know what to play after that. I'm going to try and find another game to play when that's over. On Wednesdays I upload OpenTTD. Friday Cities Skylines, and then on Saturday Open TTD again. I am actually debating creating a second series that runs alongside this one for Open TTD, and displaying one of them on a Wednesday and one of them on the Saturday. And if I do that, I'm then thinking what the content of that other series can be, how it can be different to this one. Because, you know, I don't want to be boring. I mean, it's like, I enjoy making these videos, and I enjoy making them because, you know, you people watch them and seem to like them. I don't like being arrogant. I don't ever like being kind of arrogant about the things that I do. I don't ever want to think, hey, look, I make these, they're really good, I want you to, you know, go like them and all this kind of stuff. I don't think like that. I just think, look, I make these videos, and, you know, I uploaded a few, and, you know, people actually commented and tweeted me and said, oh, look, please, can you make more videos? I really enjoyed them. And I thought, well, you know, if people like them, I will, you know, I'll make effort and I'll try my best. So I just try not to be big-headed about it, really. And then part of that is that, you know, I genuinely do make these just for people to watch. And if people like them, I feel, you know, satisfied with that, to be honest with you. So if anyone genuinely has any suggestions as to what you think I should actually do, then let me know. Seriously, leave a comment or message me or something. I honestly don't mind. And it isn't just a thing of, which I do hate on YouTube, of, oh my god, please like my videos and comment and stuff. I genuinely don't ever want to be like that, and I make a point of specifically avoiding asking for subscribers, because I just don't think that it's right. I think it's really kind of not... I'm trying to think how to word it. I think that the best indication of as to how well I'm doing in terms of, you know, pleasing you guys is by my subscribers. But it doesn't count if I'm saying subscribe to my videos. If you don't think that you'll watch, you know, what I do week in, week out, then you shouldn't subscribe, because, you know, there's no reason for you to do. You know, it's understandable. If, let's say, I don't know, I occasionally made a Civilization 5 video in the future, and, you know, I maybe made one every 2 months. That's no reason. If you only watch for those kind of videos, that's no reason to really subscribe, is it? Because I don't make the kind of videos that you like. You know, you may like that series, but it's easier just to come back and check every now and then to see whether I've actually made a new one. No, you should subscribe to me if you like the stuff that I do. And it's like, if I say to you, oh, just go subscribe, you know, please. Oh, it's like, that's just, there's no point. Why? I want you to subscribe because you wanted to subscribe, not because you were told. Think for yourself. And with that, if you'd like to... No, I'm not ever going to say that, don't worry. But yeah, that's my kind of theory on YouTube, really. I'm very moralistic with that. What I am also moralistic about is the fact I'm destroying half of this town to build this goddamn station. And my iPhone keeps going off. I don't know why I said iPhone, I wasn't bragging. I really... Oh, man. Like, I don't want to use Android and iPhone fanboyism is not something that I'm going to invite on this video, because I don't think I have all the policing in the world to handle the comments that come after it. Incidentally, what I'm going to do, I think, is kind of split this up into... I was going to say 2 parts, but it's the 24th part, so I can't do that. But I'm going to kind of carry on with this in the next part, because I'm reaching my half-hour little limit that I set myself. So, yeah, do you know what? In the next part, I'll answer, actually, what my thoughts are on Android and iPhone. And I will gauge for myself, just to see whether I can incite a fanboy war. That'll be a little objective that I'll look forward to myself. But yeah, just for this episode, I'm going to bring it to a conclusion. I've constructed most of the framework of a railway. I need to signal it and everything like that. But the framework's there for our new electric railway system, which will be consist of a few local services and some express services as well, obviously. And yeah, I'm going to continue with it in the next part. I've been Zestowski. I really appreciate you watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.